Anthony Joshua says business is not about loyalty and compares his tenure on Showtime to an abusive relationship. Stay tuned. Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang notification gang. Please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chat channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, Anthony Joshua just did an interview with CBS Sports. He said some things that created some questions in my mind. I want to read the direct quote and then I'll give you my thoughts. Joshua says, and I quote, "Business isn't about loyalty. It's about making the right decisions for your career. We are working together. There's HBO, Dazn, there's Sky, there's all these other broadcasters. So it's not about I'm going to stay put because we are loyal. It's like being in an abusive relationship. You have to make moves for the better of your life. That's what I'm doing right now, making moves for the better of my career. Dazn is a good channel to be a part of, and I honestly believe that. But so is Showtime and so is HBO, Sky Sports. They are all unbelievable broadcasters, and one day I may have a chance to box on HBO because I haven't had the chance. There's no love lost. It's not about being loyal. It's about making the right choices in my career because it doesn't last forever." Listen, I think Anthony Joshua has good intentions, but I've said this for a while now, especially with Wilder saying I'm gonna smoke you out and the pressure he's put on to try to capture the fight. I feel like Joshua desperately needs to hire a PR person because the statements he's making, I think, is just furthering the fans' criticisms of him. Like it has the fans downtrodden and it has the fans kind of angry at him because the statements like this really don't make sense. Now, I consider myself a versatile person. I can have an intelligent conversation. I was academically smart, like, honor roll and stuff when I was in school. But it sounds like Joshua reminds me of somebody it's like they're trying to sound sophisticated. And it's just, it's not, like some people try to sound studious and academic, but they're really not, because some of the analogies and just the statements he makes, it just sounds more, it reminds me of that, remember the skit on In Living Color with Damon Wayans, where there's a lot of guys that are institutionalized in prison and they read a couple books and they really think that they know some shit, you know what I mean? And then Damon Wayans was like, you see, the reciprocal of the umbilical cord and the fallopian tubes lubricated by the jurisdiction. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? That's what it reminds me of when Joshua makes statements. And I consider myself like one of the kings of analogies. On the channel, you'll frequently hear me come up with analogies, but I'm not understanding how you being on Showtime is anything comparable to being in an abusive relationship. I thought that was a bloody terrible comparison. He says it's like being in an abusive relationship. You have to make moves for the better of your life. Like Steven Espinoza, I talked to him. He was anxious to make Wilder Joshua. The network had shown Joshua's fights from before he was a champion, Charles Martin, all the way to Joseph Parker, and then they're basically, quote unquote, their contract or lease was up. So he's a free agent. Now he's going to be on Dazn, which is unproven. He's talking about Dazn is the best move for his career and it's a good channel. But you don't know that because it hasn't even made its debut for boxing. This is a new venture. So all of what he's saying sounds really suspect. All of what he's saying to CBS Sports. And then comparing it to abusive relationship. How did Showtime abuse you? You get what I'm saying? So that's not really the proper metaphor to me, because Showtime, if anything, they tried to build your profile in America, and people are still calling him Anthony Johnson, but they at least tried to. You know, picked up his fights, picked up the Klitschko fights. HBO picked up the Klitschko Joshua fight as well. And there was like a little bidding war, and they both televised it at different times, stuff like that. So I don't really get this whole, it's like an abusive relationship. I mean, I get if you're in an abusive relationship, you got to do what you got to do to get out. But how does that relate to Showtime? How did they abuse you? You know what I'm saying? And then you're siding with Dazn, which it could be cool, but it's not off to a good start. You know, the people they've signed have some cool names, but who are they going to fight? You know, the best fight on Dazn is probably Demetrius, Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders. And I'm not taking anything away from that fight getting made. However, it's a mandatory. So the pissing contest, the Cold Wars, somebody's going to lose their belt or lose their ranking if the fight is not made. So I'm not thoroughly as impressed with the fight that got made that was mandated by a champion sanctioning body. They ordered Billy Joe Saunders to fight the highest ranking person, Demetrius Andrade. The WBO ordered that. So although it's a great fight, he had to fight him. Andrade would lose his spot if he didn't fight him. Billy Joe Saunders would lose his belt if he didn't fight him. So I'm not as impressed with that. If you want to impress me, make a fight that you don't have to make. You know what I'm saying? Like Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo. They don't have to make that. So that would impress me because you came up with that all on your own and there was nobody ordering you to make that. You know what I mean? And then aside from that, the card with Jesse Vargas, and he's fighting Thomas Delorme. That's kind of a dud. Jesse Vargas is good, but where's Delorme been? You know what I mean? I don't even know I don't remember what his last fight was. Right? I know he's supposed to fight Sean Porter, but Sean Porter had to pull out. You know what I'm saying? So you guys, like, who did he last fight? Gerald Miller's fighting Thomas Adamek, a guy, again, cruiserweight, moved up to heavyweight. I thought he was retired. Eric Molina knocked him out. And then he got knocked out by Deontay Wilder and then knocked out by Anthony Joshua. So Adamek, I haven't really even seen him. I thought he was retired, you know? And on top of that, Dazn is having that fight card, I think it's October 20th or whatnot, but the Jesse Vargas Delorme fight is on the same day as Conor McGregor's UFC return. And Conor McGregor's big business, especially when people want to see how he looks in a good fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, but also coming off of a loss in boxing. How is he the same? Did he lose confidence even though it was a different sport? Stuff like that. And Conor, he's a showman. So, you know, there's nobody on the Dazn card, you know, Daniel Roman or none of those guys that I would say is anywhere near as big as Conor McGregor or the level of showman. Like Jesse Vargas is a good fighter, but he's not a showman like Conor McGregor, where he has a bunch of one-liners and who the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Doing all this and got people repeating it and stuff like that. But back to Joshua, the whole situation, he said business isn't about loyalty. That's another thing that I don't understand. I think loyalty in this business is definitely something that you should consider. People who took care of you, you should look at that. So it really makes me question, like, who's coming up with this wordplay for Joshua? He said business isn't about loyalty. Now, again, I run a business. This is a business. I'm a businessman. You know that because you find me at my places of business. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's almost like I understood where you were going, but you didn't do a good job of explaining it. You know what I mean? Like, just to flat out say business is about loyalty, to me that sounds skewed for me, my personal taste. Because I think business is about loyalty. You know, like every job, like retail jobs and different jobs I had, I'm rehirable at all of them because I don't believe in burning my bridges. Even though I was moving on to greener pastures, moving on to a different job, I didn't just stop showing up for work. So I think loyalty does matter in the business world too. But at the same time, I'm not going to stay at a job when I could get more money, less of a commute, and, you know, make more money and a better job somewhere else. So I'm not going to be so loyal to Sears that I'm not going to go over to Lowe's to work when the Lowe's situation is better. So I can understand it in that regard. But at the same time, I do believe in loyalty. And the way Joshua is defining it, I can't agree with that. He says business isn't about loyalty. So that's making it sound super cutthroat. Like you have no ties. So why don't you just leave Rob McCracken? You know what I mean? If it's not about loyalty, is there a better trainer out there for you? Just leave, you know? I don't know. it's just the way maybe it's the way he presented it. But like same thing, like with the trainer. I can understand if you need a change, maybe you have to change trainers. You shouldn't be like if Amir Khan felt Freddie Roach was no longer able to like adequately train him, then okay, you go to Virgil Hunter, you go to Goosen or whoever. So I'm not saying you should be limited, but just the way, I don't know, maybe it's just the way he phrased it. And he says, he's talking about working on HBO. HBO looks like, this is what I'm saying. Like HBO is looking like a sinking ship when it comes to boxing. Truth be told, Kovalev just got knocked out. Canelo and Triple G are about to fight. Somebody's star power is probably going to be dimmed in that, the loser of that fight. You know what I mean? As long as it's a clear-cut loser or whatnot. And he's talking about, I haven't had the chance to box on HBO. Who are you going to box on HBO? You know what I'm saying? It's weird. And then you're talking about, it's not about loyalty, but Showtime, it looked like they were doing their best to work with you and they enjoyed having you on the network. They even offered to step in the middle and mediate Joshua Wilder negotiations. And that's another reason why I know Team Joshua's side didn't want it like Wilder's side wanted it, because Showtime offered to mediate, but Eddie Hearn had this dastardly plan to work with Wembley for 2 fights, the fights that they wanted, and they want to build up until 2019 and all this shit. You know, they wanted to fight a mandatory and get some money there, you know, try to do 90,000 there, and then build up to the fight they won at Wembley and scale it up to 100. And they had this Dazn thing that was in tow that they were working on and cut Showtime out. It's just, it's looking bad to me for Joshua's stock and like statements like this, because it's not making him fan friendly. You know, he said the boxing business isn't about loyalty and I want to box on HBO. Like, what about boxing Wilder on Showtime? You know what I'm saying? What are you talking about HBO? Who does HBO have? Marish Weck? You know what I mean? Who are you gonna box on HBO? You know what I mean? Dillian White. And see, this is the thing. All these fights, we've already seen Dillian White. I promise you, I don't think it's gonna be what they expect it to be. I don't know. The UK it's a different place, so maybe it turns out to be a huge monumental fight. But I don't think the UK fans are naive, and I feel like you're not gonna force feed people. I think the UK fans are loyal, but you still can't force feed it. I have fans from the UK, from England specifically, and they said, man, Joshua needs to fight Wilder. So setting up a Dillian White fight, it's just like, it's cool, but he doesn't have a belt. You've already knocked him out. How are you gonna do over 100,000? Like Carl Froch versus George Groves, they had entertaining, the gloves are off. They had a first fight that was highly controversial. A lot of people thought it was a premature stoppage. Good back and forth action. The guys didn't like each other. Both are exciting. Both are known. George Groves had beaten guys like James DeGale. He dropped Carl Froch. Carl Froch, you know, legend in the game. Had a win over Anthony Durrell, even though I thought he lost. Jermaine Taylor, etc. So they were both known. So I can understand that doing 90,000 or whatnot at Wembley. But I just don't know that the Dillian White fight, if he's done enough. Like if Dillian White beats Luis King Kong Ortiz, which got ordered, that would be a step in the right direction. But I just don't know that that's the right type of fight, because it would basically just be a rematch for the fuck of having it. Like, don't get me wrong, Dillian White, he's worked his way up since the Joshua loss. I think he's probably improved, but you still don't have a belt, you know, and you fought a guy, like, you got to put in perspective. You fought Joseph Parker, that's solid, but a lot of people didn't rate Joseph Parker as like a dominant champion. Since he became a champion, he didn't really have signature, marquee, devastating performances, and he was coming off of a Joshua loss, and then that's when you got him. Lucas Brown failed 2 drug tests and sat on the shelf, and then you knocked him out, and he looked out of shape in the fight. And who's Lucas Brown? Like, you know what I'm saying? He's not like he might have had some power, but he didn't look. He was supposed to fight Kenan Briggs. That fight fell apart. So it's like, what did Lucas Brown do? I just don't see that being enough to justify a crowd of 100,000. Something else major would have to happen in the interim. But as far as Joshua's comments, it doesn't resonate with me. Maybe it's just me, but he says Dazn is great. And like, how do you know? Dazn hasn't even, we don't know if there's broadcasting, streaming issues with buffering. And I understand making moves that make sense with you, but at the same time, how is fighting Wilder not one of those priorities? That would be a great thing for the fans, because right now he's getting hammered in the comment section on all of his social media, on Eddie Hearns' social media. Anything about Joshua, just look in the comments and tell me if you don't see the name Deontay Wilder and fight Wilder, don't duck, and stuff like that. So statements like this, just I can't understand it. It's like being in an abusive relationship. Really? What did Showtime do to abuse you? Like you just coming home and getting like pimp slapped or something by Showtime? What are you talking about? They promoted your fights, they televised it, they had everything in working order, try to prime and build the Joshua Wilder fight. They gave you honest commentary. Nobody, I don't remember any like biased commentary against Joshua in his fights with Parker or whoever, And then the worst part about it is Tyson Fury, if he fights Deontay Wilder, if he looks good in his upcoming fight against Pianeta, and then if he fights Wilder, that's going to totally steal the shine. So Showtime is really winning, because that would be a Showtime deal. So I don't know what's going on with Joshua, but I would really consider maybe getting like a PR person to help him speak in the comment section or like in his interviews, because he's saying a lot of stuff that I know it rubs people the wrong way, and people are like, what are you talking about? Abusive relationship? You never had the chance to box in HBO. I mean, who do you want to box in HBO? You know what I mean? And again, what about Wilder? He's on the Showtime fight. That's gonna look bad. It's like when Adonis Stevenson was on HBO and then he moved to Showtime before the Kovalev fight got made. A lot of people blame Adonis for that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You let me know what you guys think. Do you think Showtime was abusive to Joshua? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. To the next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.